a sinner, left my lover crying on the dance floor. I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner.
Welcome back to Slow Damage. Let's continue. 5 days later. The festive spirit still lingered in the air as the winter holiday officially came to an end. Wrong button. Take a shot. Like all the rest, Murasai Clinic was once again open for business. Ray and Arimara walked in and started getting things prepped.
そういえば診療時間が変わったんですよね。
Arimara mused to himself as he passed me in the waiting room.
不満？いえ。ただ最近先生が疲れているような気がして、診察室の先生の机も散らかっていることが多いので。
Without a single glance at me, he continued down the hall. I was under the impression that Taku's messy desk was nothing new, but maybe it had gotten bad enough that Oromaru took notice. With that thought on my mind, I took my seat behind the reception counter. Me, I couldn't care less about the holidays. Taku had woken me up early that morning and I felt like shit. But even when I slept in, I always experienced chronic illness this time of year. For example, for some inexplicable reason, I always felt sick during the holidays. Even Taku couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. He concluded it had some sort of seasonal or psychosomatic thing. We're just insane. At lunchtime, Ray invited me out to a diner. Taku was invited too. But he told us that he was too busy to come. I fucked that one up.
忙しいのはわかるけど、年明け早々からちょっと根詰めすぎだと思わない？
Ray grumbled, pouting his lips as he scraped up the last bite of his seafood gratin with his spoon.
まあ、休み明けって患者さんが殺到するから、確かに忙しいんだけどね。だからって昼休みを返上してまで診察するっていうのは熱心だけど個人的にちょっとどうかなって思うのよね。っていうかタク、なんだかすごくがむしゃらに見えるんだけど、正月に何かあった？
何も。
I sipped my coffee, then shook my head. Placed in front of me was a bowl of bean soup Ray had ordered it on my behalf.
今年から診療時間も1時間短縮だし、そんなに勉強が忙しいの？タクが何の勉強してるか聞いてる？
いや。
本当に大丈夫かしら？あ、すみません。デザートお願いします。
Is it the game or is it my monitor? I think I need a new monitor. After he finished his gratin, he flagged down a passing waitress to order something else. Then he went back to scowling at me.
タクって優しいしおおらかだけど、時々線引きをしてるように感じるのよね。こっちが突っ込まない限り向こうも突っ込んでこないっていうか、まあそれが心地いい距離感にもなってるんだけど。今度真面目に何の勉強をしてるのか聞いてみようかな。
Go for it. He took a sip of his iced cafe a latte.I probably screwed that up, then propped his chin on his elbow and sighed.
頑張るのが悪いとは言わないけど、医者が自分自身を大事にしないなんて説得力ないわよね。
A lot of doctors do that. Just then the waitress returned carrying Ray's dessert. Instantly his face brightened.
来たー！いちごヨーグルトサンデー！
I need to pick up some more yogurt for the pups.His grumpy scowl was now a thing of the past. He grabbed his spoon without missing a beat.
冷たくて美味しい。
I watched him wearily as I sipped my lukewarm coffee.
1月によくそんなもの食べる気になるな。
どんなに寒くても甘いものは別なの。暖房のガンガン効いた部屋で食べるアイスとか最高じゃない？
どうだか。
I grabbed my pack of cigs off the table, then pulled one out and lit up. Instantly, Ray scowled.
また食事中にタバコ吸ってる。
もうデザートだからいいだろ。
私にとってはデザートがメインなのってでも年越しから年明けにかけて少し太っちゃったのよね。
Did that one to yourself?
お餅が美味しくてついつい。
He averted his eyes sadly as he stirred his sundae.
で、それを食べるのか。
Good point.
だからカロリー控えめのいちごヨーグルトサンデーにしたのよ。わかるでしょ？
全然。
I shook my head, then turned away from him to exhale the smoke. He glared back at me, then took a bite.
ねえ、急に話が変わるんだけどさ。
With a tense look on his face, he set his spoon down and leaned across the table to whisper.
あの人わかる？新聞読んでる人。
I followed Ray's gaze to the corner where a man sat reading the paper. He had it spread out so widely I couldn't see his face.
あの人とはの知り合い？
いや、
さっきね、新聞の影からこっちを見てたのよ。私が気づいたらすぐに新聞を読むふりに戻ったけど、その後もまたチラチラ見てたの。何なのかしら。ストーカ
I scrutinized the man at the counter, but he never looked up from his paper. Then he rose to his feet, paid his bill, and left the diner.
ー？どうしよう。すごいこと思いついちゃった。
God, you're a valley girl. Ray looked at me, his eyes wide in realization. At some point, while I wasn't looking, he had completely polished off his sundae.
私を一目見ようと追ってきた熱烈なファンだったりして。
Yeah, that's what it is.
ねえ、ねえ、どう思う？
While he was clearly joking, I could tell a part of him was hoping to get some sort of reaction out of me. But I had no interest in playing along. With a sigh, I set my cigarette on the ashtray and sipped my coffee.
ねえ、ちょっと一言でいいから何か言いなさいよ。じゃないと私がバカみたいじゃない。もう。
Grumbling, he grabbed my utterly untouched bean soup and started eating it out of spite.
っていうか、ちゃんと食べないと冗談抜きで死ぬわよ、あんた。
いつもお前の手料理は食べてるだろ。
何よ、私に毎日作れっていうの？食べてくれるのは嬉しいけど、なんだか複雑だわ。
Get you a gay man that can cook? Ignoring his catty remarks, I finished my coffee. More importantly, who was that man just now? If Ray was to be believed, then he was watching us for some reason. And it wouldn't be the first time a Euphoria fan stalked me. In that case, it would mean he was watching me. No, maybe I'm overthinking it. It was entirely possible the man wasn't even looking at us on purpose. I was ruminating on it. I picked up my cigarette and took a long drag. Long. I don't know why I fucked that up. I'm in a weird mood today. I mean, it's right before a con, so I get to be silly. Because I'm going to be going to a horror con. That's right, this unicorn's going to a horror con. By the time this is up, the con's already well over. I'm wondering if any fans are going to find me. Probably not. At the end of lunch, we went back to the clinic, and the afternoon shift began. The patients waited outside, all filled in, filling benches in the lobby. As I quietly carried out my receptionist duties, the flow of patients slowed to a halt. 10 minutes went by without any word, so I dialed the extension for the exam room, but nobody picked up. I set the phone back down in the cradle, then left my seat. I walked down the hall to the exam room, but right before I opened the door, I froze. I could hear Taku talking inside.
それはそうだ。ああ。いや、まだだ。そう簡単にはいかない。時間がかかる。わかってる。
Apparently, he was on the phone. His voice was a low whisper, and it sounded serious. but I couldn't tell who he was talking to or what it was about.
待ってくれ。わかった。それじゃ、仕事に戻る。
Then I heard a heavy sigh. Evidently, the phone call was over. I opened the door to the exam room.
どうか。
He looked at me with tired eyes.
内線かけたんだけど、電話中だったんだな。
ああ、ちょっと急用でな。すまん。
He averted his gaze, rubbing the back of his head. This, plus what I overheard, suggested it wasn't a very fun phone call. His smoke swayed erratically.
根の詰めすぎで心配だってさ。
何の話だ。
昼にレイが言ってた。お前を心配してる。
His lips curled in a guilty smile.
そうか。だが大丈夫だ。こう見えても医者だからな。自分の限界はわきまえてる。
Bullshit.
勉強ってのも具体的に何をやってるのか知りたがってた。
って言われてもな。説明したところでわからんだろ
う。It's called necromancy.
直接聞くってさ。
そうか。
He looked away, nodding. Whatever he was working on, he didn't seem to want to discuss it.
そんなに話したくないことなのか。
He looked at me perplexed.
まあ、そうかもな。
じゃあ、レイにそう言ってやれ。
な。
As he murmured vaguely, I left the exam room. The Taku I knew was an honest, straightforward guy, and he sucked at hiding things. This was the first time he'd ever tried to hide something that wasn't a fun surprise. Not only that, but there had to be something behind all the studying Ray was concerned about. I had known Taku for a long time, but that didn't mean I knew all there was to know about him. Human beings were complex creatures. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that there was more to him than just honest and straightforward. Well, we do know it seemed like he used to be part of the Yakuza. Or, I don't know if it was the Shinsengumi. They did seem to make him part of some gang. And if he did have a secret side, honestly, I was curious to see it myself. If there was a side to him that neither Ray nor I had discovered.
お前こそ偽善が板についてるよ。
Oh my god, fuck you, dude. You be nice.
大学時代からしてまともな医者になれるとは思ってなかった。
Well, at least you didn't end up to be a kid dealer.
異常者だ。
My curiosity was ever so faintly piqued. God, I missed my chance at making a cheese pizza joke. That evening, the front doors flew open and pure chaos stormed in.
ちょっと休館よ。
Ray staggered in, dragging a man who could barely keep himself upright. This came as something of a surprise since Ray had only just left to deliver a forgotten item to a patient.
とはタクに行ってきて。五十嵐君よ。
Huh. Sure enough, I could recognize Igarashi's face through the swelling. I rose to my feet, left the reception counter, and headed to the exam room. Okay, yeah, it's the puppy dog guy.
額の傷が少し大きいが、縫うほどじゃないな。他の傷も大丈夫だろう。
While Taku worked to swiftly treat his patient, Igarashi grimaced, possibly from the sting of the disinfectant. His clothes were torn here and there.
よし、終わったぞ。で、喧嘩したって？
No, he fell down a flight of stairs. What the fuck do you think? Once he finished bandaging Igarashi's arm, Taku looked at him with a mixture of sympathy and knowing amusement.
俺のせいじゃないんすよ。なんか街歩いてたら急に因縁ふっかけられて。それで。
Rival mob, or idiots? Igarashi bit his lip in frustration.
しかも向こうは5人だったんすよ。勝てるわけないじゃないすか。もうされるがままにボッコボコですよ。 そしたらレイさんが助けてくれて、本当に命拾いしました。
Valley Boy is good boy. I want everyone to say Valley Boy is good boy. Nearby, Ray folded his arms and sighed.
さっき患者さんの忘れ物を届けに行ったじゃない。その帰りよ。喧嘩に巻き込まれたくないから通り過ぎようとしたら五十嵐くんが見えて、慌てて止めに入ったの。
本当にありがとうございました。
Igarashi turned to Ray and bowed deeply in return. Ray hastily waved both hands.
いいのよ、気にしないで。でも因縁ふっかけられたなんて災難だったわね。
At this, Igarashi's expression darkened.
最近組がちょっと荒れてるんすよ。みんな殺気立ってる感じで。そのせいなんじゃないっすかね。
荒れてるの？どうして？
まあいろいろあって、妙な噂が流れたりとか、そういうので上の人たちがピリピリしてるんすよ。
Wrong button.
そのとばっちりが下にも広がってるっていうか。榊さんが次の組長確定ってことで、納得いかないやつらもやっぱりいるんすよね。特に遠野さん側の連中とかそうなんで、そのうち組を離れるんじゃないかって思ってます。
I just broke it now.
なるほどね。
Oh, that sucks.
お前たちも一言じゃないぞ。いつどこで何に巻き込まれるかわからんからな。十分に気をつけろよ。
Igarashi nodded intently.
そうっすね。もし何かあったら言ってください。俺で役に立ちそうなことがあったら何でもするんで。
助かるよ。だがその怪我を治すのが先だな。3日くらい経ったらまた店に来てくれ。
はいっす。
He gave Taku a firm salute, and then smacked his injury in the process, making him grimace. Taku and Ray both laughed. His antics were so damn dog-like, even I smiled a tiny bit. Puppies are perfect. Slow damage. You will support. I did it too late. Never mind. Where am I? My ears were ringing. The scenery rippled like a heat haze, and I couldn't recognize anything. The world was distorted like I was squinting through a warped glass. Scarlet light reflected in all directions, casting a red tint. I struggled to get my fuzzy brain to focus. At least I could tell I wasn't at the clinic. Where am I? I squinted at the scenery, rippling like the surface of a lake. I could sense a lot of people buzzing with energy. Shadows swayed against the walls, silhouetted by the light. Then I realized my ears weren't actually ringing. As the drone grew louder and louder, I recognized it as the sound of people talking. I couldn't understand what they were saying. The voices all overlapped with each other. A discordant harmony beat against my eardrums. The drone of their voice kept swaying and swelling until it was a cacophony of screams. At some point, the scarlet light turned to fluid, raining down on me. The shadowy figures against the walls had vanished. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine like an icy tongue of a monster. Goosebumps pricked up along my back. Then all sounds ceased. Silence, terrifying silence. Someone was standing behind me. For some reason, I sensed it was a woman. even though I couldn't see her. She stood behind me without speaking a word. Who is she? Who is this woman? Slowly but surely, I looked over my shoulder. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see her delicate chin. But that was all I could see of her. My head felt like it was held in place by some kind of torture device. All I could see was her mouth. Her scarlet lipstick filled my mind. And then those lips. Slowly curled into a smile. I awoke gasping for breath. My heart was pounding 1,000,000 miles in a minute, choking as I gulped for air. It was the middle of winter, and yet my whole body was slick with sweat, almost like I'd risen up from the ocean depths. I sat up and glanced around. Apparently I had dozed off on the sofa. What a shitty dream. The mystery woman and her red lipstick. I reached down and grabbed the floor bottle and took a swig. Normally, I could drink it like water, but the moment the lukewarm fluid hit the back of my throat, I felt sick. I dropped the bottle, got up, and hurtled into the bathroom. Then, after I emptied the contents of my stomach in the toilet, I collapsed on the spot. I felt weak. This was decidedly different from my usual poor health. Was it because of that awful, confusing nightmare? Creepy dreams were pretty common whenever I floated in and out of consciousness, but none of them ever made me outright ill. After a while, I closed my eyes and sat there until my racing pulse calmed down. Then I slowly rose to my feet, walked to the sink, and gargled with some water. While I was at it, I ran the cold water over my head, then grabbed a towel and dried myself off as I walked back to the sofa. I grabbed my cell phone off the table. It was just past 8 p.m. I had received 2 emails, one of which was Aiji's newsletter, so I decided to check the other one first. It was from Asakura. Inside, he thanked me and explained that his dark desire had been sated. Now that it was over, he was fully confident he had no sexual interest in children. Personally, I had no interest in revisiting the past. I closed the email and navigated to the newsletter. Doctor scandal investigating a doctor at T medical office. This time, the topic was centered around gossip about doctors, Taku included. Asakura was one thing, but frankly, I was surprised to see that there were unsavory rumors about Taku, too. After all, he had a flawless reputation with the patients and locals. Maybe Aiji had concocted a ridiculous rumor for his own to fill the void? Stupid. Nasty rumors. I closed the newsletter and rose to my feet. I can read. After an awful dream, I decided to go for a walk to clear my head. I pulled my coat on and stuffed my phone into my pocket. All right, so we're actually going to free explore next time. Why? Because I've been having a little problem with recording and I want to make sure this works. So the next episode will be much longer. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this game. I do love bringing different kind of visual novels. And once I finish this and Snoot game, keep an eye out because an Atomi game, similar to the Chinese one I did, will be coming. This time, should be finished? Question mark? We'll see. See you guys next time. By the way, if there's any Atomi games or games like this you want to see me play, feel free to request them. Bye, guys.